On this episode of This is Game Boy, we destroy the planets. Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of This is Game Boy. I'm Belthic Gaming, and with me as normal is Moelle.
Hello.
Before we dive into today's game, I'm actually pretty excited for today's game too, because it's a unique game for the Game Boy for sure. But before we dive into that, what have you been up to?
I've been back on the Game Boy train.
Nice.
For this week at least. But yeah, before I did that, I did finish Alice Madness Returns, which we talked about last time. Completed the game.
Platinum or whatever it's called.
Yeah, but getting the achievements that were still left took me like 20 minutes, so it was basically nothing. I should have just done it on stream instead of stopping and doing it on my own. But yeah, I thought it would have taken me longer, but whatever. Still playing, if I mentioned this before, I know I said that I was playing Tomb Raider, but now I'm playing Rise of the Tomb Raider, which is the second one. Pretty long game. I'll still have to do a lot in that. Plus, the version I have has all the DLC, which makes it even longer.
Okay, I was gonna say, is that the one that with the mansion DLC or whatever it was, where you walk around?
That's that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, that was a great DLC, and all the DLC is free actually. So even if you don't have that version, you can always get the DLC. I think it just downloads anyways if you.
Oh, nice.
If you put in your game disc or update your version, so
that's how it should
that's,
be.
Yeah, indeed. It's nice to see that there's so much DLC for it. A lot of it is multiplayer, sadly, but. Yeah, there's no trophies tied to that, well, there is, but it's not like the last time we talked about the online trophies. It's something you can do in the single player, but it counts as a multiplayer trophy, so whatever. But yeah, I've been doing some Game Boy games for sure. I started with playing through Bonk's Adventure first again, which I already had beaten, and then I played Bonk's Revenge. We'll talk about that later, for sure. After that, I was like, I'm gonna do like a game that has been on my unbeatable list for a while. So I jumped into Batman, the animated series, which is one of the best Batman games there is. But it's also a super hard game, so that's why I hadn't beaten it before. And to my surprise, I got through it pretty quickly. It was like 2 hours and 15 minutes that I did it for the stream, but I had played it before, but didn't keep a timer for it. But I think I played it for around 2 hours back then, before I moved on to something else. So. Final time 4 hours, I said, whatever, doesn't really matter. Yeah. But yeah, it's a very fun game.
It's fun, but very unforgiving.
Yeah, you really have to learn all the ins and outs of the stages and the boss fights for sure. I was, however, very disappointed with the last stage.
Joker drill?
Or boss. Yeah, the Joker drill thing. That was like the easiest thing in the entire game. I was like, wait, there's like no second form or edit? No? Okay,
because it took me about 6.5 hours to beat that game. And when I got to the Joker drill, I beat it and I was like, phase 2? No Joker coming out and shooting at me with his gun? Alright, well, game's over.
Yeah, I was like, there's a cutscene coming, and I was like, they're just setting things up for an extra fight. I know what you're doing. And then the credits rolled, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I beat the game finally.
It was a disappointing end to a very good game.
Yeah. But yeah, that's maybe a game we'll talk about in the future for sure, because
I would like to do like a Batman series, similar to what we did with Spider-Man. I would like to do a Batman.
Right, we can do that, yeah. Oh, but then I have to play forever.
Yeah, we both would.
Yeah. Well, That's a bummer.
It's too bad, really.
Oh, well. Yeah, so after that, I was like, hey, somebody keeps mentioning this game. I don't know. I don't know if I should play it or not. But I finally got through Alien 3, which was a fun time. I had some trouble with 2 of the vents, which I couldn't figure out. Which sucks if you can't figure it out, because you have to replay the entire game if you game
Literally
over.
Sucks.
Yeah, and it sucked. And it blows as well.
It blows as well.
Yeah.
I think when I was playing Alien 3, I wrote notes eventually. Like, I think I mentioned this in the podcast that I did of it. I wrote notes to understand, like, when the fan is spinning this way, that means that it's going to push up and suck down. If it's going this way, it's, reverse. And, like, I was just like, oh my god. Like, I think I eventually drew maps of the vents to get through the game.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. There is a map in the game, of course, but
it sucks.
Yeah, it's really not good.
It's only used to, like, tell you how many aliens you have left to kill. That's all the good it is.
Yeah, good thing that you said that in the chat when I asked about it. Like, I actually asked if the enemies would stop spawning if you killed enough of them, which was also fine, because that does happen.
Yeah,
you can actually look at the map how many there were.
Because I ran into that same issue in my playthrough, and I went to go grab the map, and like maybe I forgot something. I saw that there were numbers on the side of the map, and every time I'd kill an enemy, like those numbers would drop down. I'm like, oh, I wonder if those just need to go down to 0. And then sure enough, like, I'm like, oh, okay, just gotta kill all the aliens.
Yeah, once I figured out how to get through those vents, I did make it to the queen, and then I got eaten.
That was amazing. You're like, oh, I don't think I set myself up right here, chomp dead. Like,
yeah,
I laughed so hard at work.
So that was fun. So I had to replay through the entire game again, but then it only took 20 minutes or something.
Yeah, like it's like Alien 3 is one of those games where, like, casually blind, it's gonna take you like 3-5 hours, depending on how good you are figuring out like the crypticness of the game. But like once you know like what to do and where to go, like the game is like 20-25 minutes tops.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing, and I don't know how I came across it, because I just happened to come across it, finding the second key card, because it's just somewhere and nobody tells you anything about it. Like for the blowtorch that you need, at least they say like, oh, it's over there, so you can find it. Right. But yeah, that key card, I just happened to press select at the right time, and there it was, and I was like, oh, well, okay, good. Now I can move on. I think that is the most cryptic thing in the game. The rest you can
eventually
figure out. Yeah. So yeah, finally played through that game. Then the next pick was Beethoven.
I watched you play chunks of this game.
Yeah, it's okay, I would say. It's certainly very different. It's not like a standard platformer or anything. You actually have to do things that cause mayhem to fill out your meter, and once it's filled out completely, you can move on to the next level. Except for the final stage where you have to rescue all the puppies. You have to do some mischief so that the guards will quote-unquote drop their keys so you can open the cages and let them out. And the final one took me a while because I didn't understand what to do. Like, there's one guard in front of a TV who's laughing, and the only thing you can do is push with your head and jump. That's basically all that Beethoven can do. So I was trying to push that TV, which didn't work, like from the front, from the side. I was sitting in front of the guy thinking that he would shoo me or whatever, because I was in his line of sight. I jumped on the TV a few times, like literally nothing was happening, and then I was just looking at the game facts, seeing if there was maybe a control thingy that I didn't know about, but there wasn't. So I went out of it and I was just jumping on the TV again. for no reason, because I was not really playing, I was just jumping while I was talking, and then suddenly the TV just went out, and I was like, oh, so I just had to keep on jumping on this thing.
I didn't see the ending of it, so that's pretty comical.
Yeah, the game is maybe not worth playing because it's not that great, but you have to see the ending of this game.
I did watch the credits because Legs talked it up so much about how it was the best ending ever for Game Boy. I'm like, all right, let's see this. I went to go watch. I'm like, I did appreciate it. I was like, this is not like, okay, like cool. The dogs are on two legs now, dancing and saluting. All right, that's cool, I guess.
Oh, but then you didn't see the actual final bit of it.
Oh, is there more?
There was more, indeed. There was indeed more. No, I'm not gonna spoil it. You have to look for it yourself. Yeah. So everybody who's listening, just go watch my playthrough of it. It is on YouTube right now. If you don't care about the game, just skip to the end so you can see the credits. It's just so I'm hyping it up because it's just so silly, actually. But it's great, so people should just see it. Yeah, and then after Beethoven, I asked the chat for like a short game because I wasn't gonna stream much longer anymore. So Lex said, "Oh, you should play Ultraman Shutushi Gekiden, if you pronounce it like that, which is a platformer, a shmup, and a quote-unquote fighting game based on the Ultraman series. It was fun. I liked it.
Ultraman.
I've never seen Ultraman. I know nothing about Ultraman. There's a lot of story in this game, which I, of course, couldn't read because this is a Japanese-only game. So I have no idea what actually happens in that game, but it's fun. It's like you play a platformer stage, you do a few quote-unquote fighting game fights, then you go up into space and shoot things. It's fun, and it's only like 30 minutes, even on the hardest setting, because I played it on the hardest setting. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have been playing. What have you been up to?
A lot of my life went to Assassin's Creed Rogue remake. I put 40 hours into platinuming that game. So that was like 2 weeks worth of streaming right there. Pretty much done with GTA Vice City. Like, I'll have that wrapped up today. I never realized how garbage the controls were in that game. Like the story holds up fine. The graphics, PS2, whatever. Yeah. The graphics are whatever. They're gonna be polygonal. But the controls are so bad. So bad. I have 90% of my failed missions in that game have been from flawed controls. Like I hold X and press X and the car doesn't move or the boat doesn't move. I just got done with a mission earlier today where I had to like run away from the cops, but the car collision physics in the game are awful. If you just get tapped, you're 20 feet in the air going the opposite direction, and you can't control your car. They'll spin you out of control. You roll your car on every turn. It's just, I'm like, oh God. I'm like, how did we play this 17 years ago, and how are we so good at controlling things 17 years ago?
Yeah, like I don't remember any issues with that when I played it, because I do not really like the GTA series, but that one
I love Vice City. It's my favorite GTA. Even with its flaws, I'm finding out now, it's still my favorite GTA. But I think back and I'm just like, I can't imagine playing 17 years ago and being good at it.
Yeah, I can't imagine it myself now either. Like, I haven't touched it since it came out, but yeah.
I have GTA 3 sitting next to me as well, and I'm like, I kind of want to play that, but after playing Vice City, I'm like, I'm terrified to play it.
Yeah, for sure.
After that, someone finally redeemed the 50,000 channel points on my channel to request a game.
Okay.
So if you guys, for those that are listening, if you don't follow Twitch all that much, Twitch has a channel points thing where if you watch a person's channel for so long, you get points added up into your quote unquote bank. And what you can do is if the streamer has like miscellaneous stuff like highlight my message, modify an emote, unlock an emote, and you can add your own various ones. One of mine for 50,000 points, which is quite a bit, is to request a game. And one of my moderators got to 50,000 points first, and he requested Blackthorn for the Super Nintendo. So I
Never heard of it.
It's a game by. It's one of the first games made by Blizzard.
Oh, okay.
It's not a super well known game, but it's not bad. It's a genre that I personally don't care for. It's like a platform dungeon crawler type game.
Okay.
Think of like Conan for the NES or something like that. If you've ever played that,
Well, I didn't, but
it's similar to that in a sense. It's not my type of genre to play, so I'm not excited to play it, but I'll play it because it was requested. So
yeah, sure.
On top of that, setting up my backlog on Groovy. So I finally found a game backlog site that I actually like and is actually usable for me.
Okay.
So I finally found one called Groovy. It's powered by Giant Bomb. If you guys don't know who Giant Bomb is, Giant Bomb's a big video game journalist company. So backed by a pretty solid community, and the library is absolutely just gigantic that I can find so far. I have yet to find a game that wasn't in their list. So I've been getting that all set up, and yeah, that's been time consuming as well too. Finishing up Retromade stuff. I'm hoping to have the first episode of Retromade out in April, which will be on Balloon Kid. So just getting everything wrapped up with that, script wrapped up, and an intro and everything else. So just a lot of busy work, honestly. Scanning old Game Boy comics that I came across on the internet, getting those out to the Game Boy community and the retro collectors and let them read them. The first one's a hoot, let me tell you what. There's a culture clash, and it's right away.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, I mean, it's just a lot of busy work. Not a lot of games. The games I've been playing just long games. Like next week, I think I'm doing Assassin's Creed Syndicate on Xbox. So that's another 20+ hour game for me because I love Assassin's Creed. So
yeah, I like playing longer games as well. Like that's why I sometimes just have a break from my Game Boy games so I can just fit something in. Like I actually have been trying to come up with the next game for that, but I have too many choices.
I feel you on that. For game, my Game Boy like streaming stuff, like I love playing the Game Boy. Obviously, I do a podcast with Mo about it, but like sometimes like I just need a break. Like I'll bust out like 10 games like back to back, no problem. Then I need like a 2-month break from it before I can go back to it.
Yeah, I don't take that long of a break, but it's I definitely after a few games I'm like, I'm good with this. Like this week I beaten 5 games, so that's
right,
pretty incredible. So luckily they were all going by so fast, but
and they were decent games too.
Yeah, they were all actually fun. Yeah, that one is the odd one there, but even if it wasn't good, it was still like enjoyable to play it somehow. So that's always a good thing. Like if it's just really, really trashy and you get stuck for no reason and you have to keep on starting it from the beginning again and again and again, then it's just not fun. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, that's what we've been up to. Busy all around. Plus, we have the GB community or the Game Boy Runners website we're still trying to get through.
Get started, yeah.
But yeah, so this episode is on Cosmo Tank, which is it's a cool game. I'm excited to talk more about it after the break, but it's an interesting game. I don't think many people may have heard about it, even, at least not the people I've talked to that do play Game Boy. So, but yeah, so we're going to take a little quick short break here. When we come back, we're going to deep dive into Cosmo Tank. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Cosmo Tank came out in Japan first, August of 1990, and then came out in America in September of 1990. The poor Europeans didn't get a release of this game.
No.
Developed by Asuka Technologies, which is going to be a very, very unknown name to people, because Asuka was an origin. So the way this story works basically is that Atlas Co. Was founded in Japan, 1986, where they released Puzzle Boy, which I think is Amazing Tater or Quirk. I can't remember. It's what we call it on Game Boy. North American branch was established in Irvine, California. If you're not familiar with Irvine, that's where Blizzard is located right now.
Oh, all right.
In January 18th, 1991, under Atlas Software. But it traces its origins as Asuka Technologies, which was founded in 1989. So Asuka Technologies and the North American Atlas Software branch literally just merged together and became Atlas USA on April 1st, 1999. Asuka Technologies only made one game, and that one game is Cosmo Tank. But Atlas itself is responsible for a number of Game Boy games. Bonk's Adventure, Cosmo Tank, obviously, Spud's Adventure, Amazing Tater, Quirk, those are the Puzzle Boy games. Another Bible, Megami Tensei Gaiden, a lot of very popular Game Boy games. So
yeah, everybody knows Atlas. So
yeah, they're still around today. So
yeah, very controversial company, but
yeah, yes, they are.
They would rather keep making games for the Vita than anything else. It's kind of weird. And then they're also...
Go ahead.
Yeah, they're not good with, like, the whole thing where nobody could stream Persona 5, was it?
Yeah.
Like, they're kind of weird. Oh.
Yeah, there was a huge stink where no one was allowed to stream Persona. And then there was an uproar, a boycott, and... yeah, just hell kind of broke loose on that. But I mean, like, they're still, like I said, they're still making games, or at least publishing games in a way. So they're still around. They're one of the few older companies that, aren't Nintendo or Sega or something, that's still out there rocking and rolling on their own. Not gobbled up by Microsoft or any one of the sorts. So. Good on you, Atlas.
Of course, they are so well known because of their Shin Megami Tensei series, but like the other games they make that have nothing to do with them are usually really good. Like one for me that always comes to mind is Rocking Cats for NES.
Oh yeah, that's a good game.
It's also an Atlas game. It's so good, and it's like something completely different than what people know them for. And also on Game Boy, there's like a few games that like, oh, this is by Atlas. That's weird, but yeah.
I mean, they help localize Demon Souls, Guilty Gear, and Ogre Battle for the N64. So those are three very different games upon each other. So
everybody really knows them from the RPGs, but yeah, they do a lot more than that. Like Gathering is also by Atlas, which is also something completely different.
And Tom Hewlett, who worked on Digital Devil Saga, was also the project leader of Trauma Center. So if you ever played or watched people play that too, like, so Atlas is like all over the place when it comes to genres and spectrums, which is actually pretty cool. I've played a lot of Atlas games. I've played a lot of good Atlas games, and I've played my fair share of terrible Atlas games. So, we actually have a composer for this game. So I'm gonna butcher.
Yeah.
I love butchering Japanese names so much. Tsukasa Masuko.
That's as good as you can get.
Oh yeah. So he's the composer of. He was the Atlas composer. Let's just be straight up with that. Japanese composer and sound designer that worked explicitly for Atlas. He actually started working on video games at Tecmo in 1984, and he graduated high school in 1982 or 1984 as well. So started pretty young. He's 56 now, so seems like the normal age for that. He did games like Arachnoid on NES, Digital Devil Story, Megami Tensei, TNC Surf Designs, Wood and Water Rage. Everyone knows that game. Friday the 13th. Cosmo Tank. Quirk. Spud's Adventure. Amazing Tater. So like he has a lot of games under his belt. He's still going actually. So good on him.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you see in the credits, he usually gets called Mako. With 2 C's. Yep. That's like his performer name or his artist's name. I don't know.
Composer name, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I like how it says here, most notable work, Karate Kid. That's really too bad. Oh, it's real too bad.
The NES one, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's not...
that's too bad.
Listen, maybe I don't know the soundtrack actually by heart, but...
It's bad.
Yeah.
It's not good. Let's just put it that way. But it makes me curious, because I talked to Mo about this during break or before the episode. I can't remember now. Being old sucks. That when I was playing the game, a lot of the music that I heard and a lot of the sounds I heard reminded me of Total Carnage, which is not an Atlas game at all. No. But I'm curious if like if the two composers were like one was a mentor of the other, or they were assistants at one point in time, or worked together. Like I wonder if there was some sort of correspondence in life with those two, because the two sounds are very, very similar. Because like Total Carnage is kind of a garbage dumpster game, but the music and the sound isn't bad in it. So, but yeah,
we don't know. But if anybody knows, let us know.
I do have some fun facts about composers and stuff now, though. So I was talking to Jason Austin again, for those who don't know, is the developer of Alien 3 Game Boy. And I had a conversation with him about audio composers for video games, because I was always curious, like, why are composers never credited for their stuff? It came down to basically that it wasn't so much they ran out of room in a cart, it was because the company wouldn't let people credit themselves. Like, they would credit the publisher, they would credit the developer, but it would be as the team, it wouldn't be as individuals. Unless it was specified that, you know, they could do that. That's why we don't have a lot of that composer or developer credit, because they just weren't allowed to do it. And a lot of the audio composers that did this were also developers and game programmers as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of the times, like, the composer is also the developer of the game. So it's really interesting to hear how all of that worked. If you're curious about it, you can find it on my Twitter. I think it's one of my most recent conversations with him. It's really good insight on how these retro games actually were programmed, the intense amount of due date, the intense amount of stress on these people just to, like, punch out a game, you know, in a month to a couple months. It's nuts.
Yeah, nowadays it's like a complete opposite, where every person who even, like, glanced at the game before it came out is in the credits. Thankfully, a lot of games allow you to skip them, and which kind of makes you feel bad, because, like, hey, these people worked on this game, let them have their moment to shine.
Right.
But I don't have time to sit through credits that take 10 minutes. Like,
no, credits are not 10 minutes anymore.
I
beat Assassin's Creed Rogue last week. The credits were 45 minutes long.
Holy
it thanked
God.
everyone from, like, the developers to the QA to the producers to the babies that were born to the pets that were on set to the like, every little detail. And, like, I'm one of those people who are like, you know what, I personally don't care about the credits. Like, I want to see who made the game, the voice actors and whatever else, but I don't care about anything else. But I'm gonna let the credits roll, because all these people put work into the game. I enjoyed the game. Let's give them some spotlight.
Yeah.
But,
sure.
Oh man, the credits nowadays on these newer games are just abysmal on how long they are. Like, some of them are as long as the game itself.
Mm-hmm. It's usually also because, like, when it comes for Assassin's Creed, they do not only credit, like, the actual people who made it, but because they are split into, like, Ubisoft France,
all localizations of it.
All localization teams, all companies. It's like, oh, you see the end of the credits and you're like, okay, good, we're done, we can finally... Oh, wait, so now we're going to Ubisoft Montreal. Okay.
Yep.
And it just keeps going on and on and on. And I get it, of course, you have to do that, but...
Well, even when I did GTA 5, like, Rockstar's in America. Like, Rockstar's an American company. Like, let's just be fair on that.
Yeah.
When I beat GTA 5, the credit sequence for that was 35 minutes long. Like, that was just a North American company.
Crazy.
It's insane to see how long these credits are now. And it's cool that you want to thank everyone, but at the same time, it's just like, come on, man. Like, there's got to be a cutoff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's kind of weird. It's sad that we didn't get the information we needed back then, and now it's like too much information, man. It's good. Yeah. Like, we don't need to see all these people in here.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like, it just, you trying to find this stuff. It's like, once you find, like, the person that's willing to talk to you about the olden days of programming and how they did stuff, like, they're usually willing to help you, like, figure out how to, like, seek it in the future as well too. But man, like, honestly, finding some of this stuff though is just like finding a needle in a haystack. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah. But, plus, if English speaking people have worked on the games, we can at least reach out to them. But yeah, like, video games are basically all from Japan. As soon as you get to the
Japanese composers, it's just like, okay, well, I don't know how to get a hold of you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, all right. Which is most of them, to be fair.
Yeah,
so.
It is most of them. Yeah, like, you can put all the actual English composers, like, you can count them on, what, 2 hands, maybe?
Yeah, maybe.
And you keep see well, that's a nice sentence that I was trying to say there. You keep seeing their names pop up throughout these games, and then you get to know them like that. And some of them you just immediately recognize after 5 notes into a song.
I can recognize a Dave Weiss song from anywhere in a game.
Yeah, or Grant Kirkhope songs, for Game Boy Gonzalez's songs. So you immediately recognize them. Oh.
But yeah, so that's why. So like a lot of times when you're like, oh, we couldn't find the information on the composer, now you know why it's so hard to find this information, and why we're always happy to find a composer for said video game.
Yeah.
The plot of Cosmo Tank. So typically Mo does the plots for these games. The plot for this I'm going to do because it is absurdly weird. It doesn't make any sense. So the plot of Cosmo Tank, taking from the first page of the manual. It's one mean piece of rolling steel against a horde of the enemy's finest. One by one, the outer planets were overrun by the unidentified insect-like creatures. Normal weaponry used against them had no effect. Backed by the best scientists in the galaxy, the Cosmo Project set out to design the ultimate fighting machine, a savior to those in need. Such was the birth of the Tiger Alpha 1. As commander of the Tiger, you will set out on a mission of rescue against the overwhelming forces of a galactic hive. You must survive the peril on land and in space to reach your final destination, the lair of the master insect and his minions. Do you dare brave the challenge? There you go. That's the plot of Cosmo Tank.
What a plot indeed.
It is... if you think the plot is weird, just wait till we get to the gameplay.
Yeah, that's definitely... Did I say yeah? Wow, okay. Yeah. What is happening to me today? Yeah.
Too much talking. You did all that revealing for Remix 3.
Yeah, for sure. My God.
So the gameplay... And Mo, you're going to have to help me with this gameplay a bit.
Sure.
Because I was telling Mo at the start of this, before we started recording, it's like I had a really hard time describing the gameplay of this game.
Yeah.
Is it a shmup? Is it an adventure? Is it a first-person shooter? Is it an RPG? Yes. It's all four.
Yes. No, like, the game basically starts as a top-down... I guess it's an adventure game, but...
It's like Star Wars.
Yeah, it's like when you start Star Wars, indeed, when you're in the Land Cruiser, is that what it's called? Just going on a map and looking for things. That's basically what you're doing in this game. So you start on a planet, you get dropped there with your tank, with the Cosmo tank, and you can move about, and there's enemies that are attacking you that drop power-ups that you can grab, and there's some kind of traps hidden throughout the stages, like landmines that you can't see, things you cannot cross, like poison water and other hazards. But your goal is always to find a cave entrance, which either leads you to a second part of the planet or a third part, however many sections there are. But you always try to get to the final cave where you have to fight a boss eventually. That is the one of the gameplay mechanics of this game. There's 2 other things you can find on the overworld map, let's just call it like that. There are like stations where you can go into. One of them will repair your tank, and the other one will give you a hint or a tip on how to tackle the planet or something that is coming up later. So they always give you tips for that. Collecting the power-ups that the enemies drop is actually a very important part because it levels up level ups it level ups your tank.
Words are hard.
Yeah. And then you do more damage in the next section, and you also get an upgrade for your weapon on the overworld map. Luckily, the enemies are infinitely respawning enemies on the overworld map, so you can just basically sit next to a refill station and then just farm. Like, if you can get hit and you're about to die, you can just go refill your health real quick. But it is quote-unquote mandatory to get your stronger weapons, because it will make the game a lot easier. The sad part about the game is if you lose your life, I think it downgrades one of the stats that you gained.
It drops a level.
And if you game over, you just go back to your basic setup, your basic tank. But yeah, those are the RPG elements that come into place, kind of. You can just grab power-ups and get stronger. Now moving on to the second part of the game, what actually happens in those caves. So you go into a cave and suddenly you are in a first-person dungeon crawler. I don't know where that suddenly came from, but you sure are.
It reminded me of Bionic Battler. As soon as I went into a cave, I was like, I am literally about to play Bionic Battler again, and I am not excited for this.
No, luckily it is it's lot better than Bionic Battler. But yeah, you're in a cave. Your goal is to either find the exit so you can move on, or if you are in the boss area, I guess that's the best thing you can call it, you are actually looking for power generators. Because once you destroy those, you power down the boss of the planet, and you can fight them without powering them down, but it's definitely not recommended.
Not recommended.
So it's best to look around. Thing is, if you come across the boss by accident, because it is like a maze that you have to go through, if you do die, you do not just respawn at the boss, you actually put it right outside the boss, so you can always just turn around and go search a little more. In the caves are, of course, also enemies. Like I said, it's first person, so you have to shoot them by moving your tank around, because you can turn 360 degrees. You get locked in a battle if you come across an enemy, and then you can just concentrate on shooting those. There's also, I think, a map that you can find, or you always have a map, but if you destroy one of the things you can find, they actually show you where all the generators and the boss are located.
You have a compass and everything else too that tells you what direction you're facing and going.
Yeah, absolutely. The way damage works during this part, because there will be bullets flying to you from everywhere, you do not really have to worry about them unless they're right in the dead center of the screen. If you just move to the side a little bit and you see it bursting in through the right side of your tank, it will not damage you. And that's something you really have to figure out from the start, because otherwise you're like, how am I ever gonna win a fight, because everything keeps hitting me? But it's really just the dead center of the screen itself that you have to worry about. For normal enemies, not so much a problem, but the bosses are absolutely brutal in this game. So
the first planet, because there are multiple planets that you do this for. I didn't know about the generators blind. I just found the boss right away. I was like, oh, and I actually beat the boss without killing a generator. I was like, sweet. I'm like, that took about 1,000 years to do. And then I game over to wherever else I played the game, but I just replayed the game because I was like, I feel like I was missing something in stage 1. And sure enough, I came across this cylinder thing, and I just shot it a bunch of times and it blew up. And then I think there's like what, 2 in there, 2 on the planet or something like that, 3.
I think
it varies
depends,
on the planet. And then like I went to go fight the boss. I was like, oh, that's way easier. So I'm like, those must be a link to the boss of some sort.
Yeah. It's also like not all of the generators are in the final cave, so there are the other caves you came across where there will also be a generator hidden for sure.
Yeah. But
yeah, that's the second part of this game. But there's more. Of course, there's more. Why wouldn't there be more? We are talking about one planet now, which means there are different planets. So you also have to go to those planets, and the way you do that is by actually playing a little shmup game. It's a top-down shmup, a vertical shmup. Wait, of course, it's top. Well, no.
Well, it doesn't be top down.
Yeah,
Gradius. Gradius is
that's horizontal. Then it's not top down. Yeah, no, it's a vertical shmup. It's pretty simple. I don't even think there's like boss fights in that. It's really just
no, it's just to survive.
A path that you have to take. Yeah, and basically everything you kill gives you a refill for your health, so it's not that hard to get through, or it's an upgrade to your shooting.
Yeah.
So it's pretty simple, but you have to do that every time you go to a different planet. The game is not linear at all. There are actually 6 planets on this game, and each planet has a thing, like a hazard or something else, and you need an upgrade from one of the planets to actually be able to venture to the other planets. So, you have to figure out, do I have to go here now or here now or here now? At the start, it's a little convoluted, of course, because you have no idea, and you keep having to do that shmup section all over again to get to another planet. But like I said, there are those bases there you can go to, and they will give you a tip like, but this thing is actually on this planet. So always keep a lookout for those if you're playing the game. They will tell you. It's not just super cryptic where they just let you figure it out on your own.
Yeah, and during this process, are you collecting the life cores or are you destroying the life cores?
That is a good question.
Because that I couldn't comprehend at all. So in the game, there are life cores on each planet, and the life cores are crucial when it comes to the final boss. So I couldn't figure out if we were collecting or destroying these life cores. It was just like I'm baffled by it. But basically, so once you've done the 6 planets, collected or destroyed the life cores, whichever it may be.
I think it's collect because you need them to like awaken the last boss, or if I remember correctly. It's kind of like Castlevania 2, where you're looking for Dracula's body parts to make him come back to life. I think it's something like that.
Okay, that would make more sense. I was just like, because that was actually never explained in the game at all. At least, not that I remember.
I think maybe one of those people in one of the stations says something about it.
No one's got time to talk to them. I just brute forced my way through the game. Yeah. So, but the final fight is hard. I had a hard time with the final fight. So basically, you get to the end, and this thing has 2 hands, one on each side. So basically, what you want to do is that you want to start off by staying on the far side, either left or right. Do what you want to do. And then you have to charge a laser shot, move in, shoot it in the hand. Think of Star Fox. When you fight, what's his name? The final boss of Star Fox. Whenever you fight the final boss of Star Fox, you know how he has his hands or whatever else? You shoot the little crystal and he closes it and gets all mad. Very similar idea to that.
Andross, that's
what it is. It's been a while since I played Star Fox. then you move in, shoot the hand, and then you just rinse and repeat it. The problem I had was I would get demolished by the bullets that came out. But there is a trick, and I didn't figure it out until after I beat the game and after I was watching people's playthroughs of it. Because after I beat a game, I kind of like to see how other people approached certain things too. Because typically, like in a Game Boy game, like there's almost more than one approach to a boss. Like it's kind of cool. So I also like to watch them. Like I watched Moe's playthrough, I watched Author Blues' playthrough, and a few others. And I noticed that if you move in and shoot a hand, if you wait for the bullets to come out first and then move, you don't get hurt. I was like, what? I was like, okay, because I was in a scramble, I was in a hurry. I moved in and shot this hand, I need to get out of the way quickly, but that was my burden, essentially. That was like my downfall fighting this boss. And yeah, and then once you've destroyed both hands, you get to take on the body of this thing, which is you're just charging up a laser. You're just charging up laser shots and just shooting it in the life core. It's, I don't know. The final boss is weird too. So whenever you shot it, it's not just vulnerable in the center at all either. It has like these legs, I guess you can call them. That whenever the joint of the leg, kind of like shoots to the top of the screen, any part of that leg between the quote-unquote knee joint and the body is also vulnerable to be shot. Yeah. So you don't have to hit it in its body all the time, which if you had to do that would be a forever fight and harder than it already is. So
it took me forever, that fight though.
That fight took me a long time. Yeah. Fully upgraded took me a long time.
Yeah. I don't know if I was still fully upgraded at that point when I beat him, but yeah, that fight is it's a chore. It's a chore.
It is. But I mean, once you've taken out the hands, and then you get to the second phase, essentially, the Andross's mouth part of the game. Once you've beaten that, like you beat the game. Congrats. Proud of you all. It's a cool game. It really is. It's worth a playthrough. Like you're probably hearing me like stutter over my words too when in the gameplay section. I told Moe, I don't know how to describe this game. This game like fits under like 3 or 4 different genres that like at one, like in 5-minute chunks you'll be playing one, the next 5-minute chunk you're playing another genre, the next 10-minute chunk you're playing another genre. It's kind of all over the place, but it melds nicely together. Like it's not like Beavis and Butthead. I'm gonna use that as an example where you're kind of like you're like what the heck do I do type deal. Oh, I have to go find and collect something, and then all of a sudden like you're put into a platformer, and then you're back into a what the heck do I do, and then you're back into a platformer. It's kind of a weird transition in that game. But this game it works somehow or another. They made it work, and I was happy to have to cover this game because I was talking to Mo. I was like, what genre haven't we covered all that much? And we're talking about it, and we're just like, well, there's Cosmo Tank, but like, what genre does that fall under?
Hard to figure out, but they do all different things well. Like, yeah, I'm not gonna say amazing, but they do everything well. So even switching between those modes always feels right. You never feel overwhelmed by it or suddenly don't know what to do. It's all pretty simple, but it is not super easy either. It does provide you with a challenge, and you can make it harder on yourself by not upgrading, I guess. But I wouldn't recommend that. It's definitely not for a first one.
It's one of those games where, like, I would call it tough, but a fun tough. Not an unforgiving tough like Batman animated series, but it's a fun tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And it has unlimited continue, so you don't lose your progress, at least through a planet. You just, game over and have to get through everything again, but and upgrade your tank. But besides that, like, you can keep on playing. It's not like suddenly halfway through the game you have to restart.
Thank God.
Yeah, thank God, because that would make this game not that much fun, actually. But,
agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed on that. Let's dive into the cover art quick. So, the cover art between the Japanese and the American versions are nearly the same. I personally prefer the Japanese cover because it's brighter. It's not as darkened. It could be the image quality.
Yeah, maybe. I have no idea.
It could be the image quality that we found for the English version, but the Japanese version is a lot more vibrant. Like the shadow, like you can actually see what's happening. It's not dark and dungeony at all. At the top it says Cosmo tank in the awesome 80s synth monochrome style word art, and then
think Transformers. That basically it.
And then underneath that, for the Japanese box art, it says something in Japanese. I have no idea what it says.
No idea either.
No idea. It doesn't even show it on the English box art. And then below that, you can see the first-person view, essentially. So you can see like this narrow cave, and you're blasting a laser, and there's a spider and ant off to the side that just dodged your attack.
Yeah.
A lot of detail in the rocks. Like this is a round tunnel in the cave, and you can see all the shadows in the rocks. Like it actually looks like a 3-dimensional, like you're actually sitting in the cockpit of this Tiger tank. The rocks are very well detailed on both versions of the box art. You can manage to see what the ant or the spider is. You can tell it's an insect of a sort, and the highlights are perfect on it. On the right-hand side is more brilliant because that's where the laser is coming from, versus the left-hand side where it's more shadowy because it's kind of more up against the wall. That's more prominent in the American box art than it is in the Japanese box art.
Yeah.
And then as we go further down the box art, now we're inside of the cockpit of the Tiger Alpha 1. And we can see all of the control panels. They're blue with the black screens and the green text. Think of like the late 80s, early 90s MS-DOS type stuff. You can see like the window and the top controls on the top of the tank as well too. You can see like where your legs are going to fit, and like this piece that goes kind of between your legs, almost like a joystick in an actual like fighter cockpit. And then in the bottom, at least on the Japanese version, in the bottom right corner shows the Tiger Alpha 1 tank. It's almost like a smaller version of a Metal Gear. And then in the English version, the Tiger Alpha 1 tank is center bottom of the box art. So
yeah, it might just be the coloring of the scans of the boxes.
It could be, yeah. It could be image quality, yeah. And Atlas Atlas hasn't changed their logo in 25 years, so
nope. Still the same. It's a good logo, I mean.
Yeah, it gets the point across, right? So, but the box art's cool. I like the box art. It actually matches the game finally. Like we have finally got a box art that matches the gameplay.
Yeah, it shows what it's about. Like they don't show the shoot 'em up section, but yeah, whatever.
I mean, you spend most of your time in a cave anyway in the game.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, yeah. Good box art. Whoever designed it, good job. Kudos to you if you listen to the podcast. And before we get 13 comments, I was the one that designed it. Okay, good meme. Outside of that, general reception of the game, I couldn't find much. I feel like this is a game that like just not many people knew about or talked about or.
Yeah, it definitely flew under the radar completely. Like, maybe it is because of the box arts. Not that it's bad, but if you play the game, you know what it signifies for sure. But otherwise, it looks kind of weird. I mean, it doesn't really say much about it, so.
Yeah. Just doing a quick look here on release day. So, August 1990 in America, we had Double Dragon and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Fall of the Foot Clan.
Yeah, that will overshadow this.
So those two games will 100% overshadow Cosmo Tank because Double Dragon is a beloved NES game. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in the early 90s, come on. Every boy on the block, man, was dressed as Raphael or Michelangelo for Halloween. So
yeah.
And then September. So if we want to look at September even as well, September we had Skate or Die, which may not sound huge, but Skate or Die was actually pretty popular in the late 80s, early 90s when skateboarding started to take off. Final Fantasy Legend, or the Makai Tushi saga. I'm not good at Japanese.
Saga is fine.
Saga, yeah. So we had a couple games even in September to overshadow, but September had a lot of games that came out as well too. Catrap, Heavyweight Championship Boxing, Pipe Dream, Wheel of Fortune. We had a lot of games come out in September, so the game 100% got overshadowed by bigger titles, and that's going to happen. That even happens in today's world with video games, like. This game's coming out on September, whatever. Oh, that's when Last of Us 2 is coming out. All of a sudden, it's like, well, no one remembers that other game now. So,
yeah, I think Capcom got lucky that Squeenix pushed back Final Fantasy remake because they were coming out like Resident Evil 3 and Final Fantasy were coming out in the same month. I was like. Yeah, dude, Resident Evil 3 is gonna bomb now. But I think they pushed it back 1 month now, so...
Well, it's crazy, because, like, right now we have, in March, we have Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
The new Ori game.
Oh, okay.
Doom. And then, early April, Final Fantasy 7.
No.
It would have been Cyberpunk, but that got pushed out. And then RE3 remake. Like, we have a lot of big hitters, like, coming up that do overlap each other. But they're such big titles that people are going to know them and be like, okay, I'm going to play this first, then I'm going to play this. It's not like... Oh, here's an indie game that's coming out the same day as RE3. I was pretty excited about that indie game, and then RE3 comes out. What was that indie game again? Question mark. So, yeah. 1990 was a busy year for the Game Boy, just looking at this list. Dang, 1990 was a busy year for the Game Boy.
Absolutely, yeah.
Wow, all right. Cool. So, with that, we're going to take another short break. When we come back, we're going to give our thoughts and history, more thoughts and history of the game Cosmo Tank. So stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. Thoughts and history. Mo, I'm going to start with you on this one.
Sure. I'm as far as I could see, at least from my video, John Carls did pick this game for me, so I'm pretty sure he and other blues were already like trying to figure out the speedrun for this for sure. So I think that's why I started playing it. So I had never heard of it before. Like nobody else probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said you will like this because it's like very different than what we normally get to play when doing these system challenges. I was like, okay, I'll check it out, and yeah, I liked it a lot. I think it took me like almost 3 hours to beat it blind, which is a good length for a Game Boy game. I feel like definitely one where you keep progressing. Like I did spend a lot of time like getting my tank back to the appropriate level, maybe a little bit too much. But yeah, for me, like a 3 hour game, that's pretty much perfect for a Game Boy. Unless I constantly have to like restart it, and it's actually only a 10-minute game. That's something completely different. Yeah, I really enjoyed playing through it. The uniqueness of it got to me. I had some trouble during the first person shootouts, let's call them that, with dodging the bullets from the enemies, but all in all, like, it wasn't too hard. It was just like a good challenge to me. So I can definitely recommend it because of that uniqueness. You will not find another Game Boy game like this at all. Maybe something similar happened for Game Boy Advance or for Game Boy Color. Not that I know, but I think this is just for the original Game Boy library, definitely something unique you have to check out. And if you are into it, in all these different gameplay styles in one game, definitely just play through it.
Yeah. I don't have any history of this game at all. I didn't know this game existed either. I saw it in the Game Boy list. That's how I knew this game, quote unquote, existed. I saw it in the Game Boy game list. But I just assumed it was one of those like Scorched Earth type games, like Worms, and I don't like those types of games. Okay. Or it was gonna be like the old like Atari tank games where like you go 1-on-1 against like another opponent, and like whoever turns the corner first wins type deal.
Yeah.
So I never gave it any thought at all. I never even turned it on. So I didn't have any history with it at all. My first exposure to Cosmo Tank was actually watching Author Blues speedrun the game. Mm-hmm. I saw him, I tuned into his channel when he was on the final boss fight. And I was like, oh, this is a cool game. What's this game called? He's like, Cosmo Tank. And I'm like, oh, I think I've seen that on my game list before. Is it fun? He's like, he talks about the game a bit. And so I went and I watched, I kept watching his speedruns. I'm like, oh, this game reminded me a lot of Battle Tank for the Super Nintendo or the N64. Kind of a top-down, maybe a third-person perspective view of a tank, and you're going and fighting against other things, right? But it also gave me a Blaster Master feel as well, too, because...
Yeah, actually.
Yeah, it gave me a big Blaster Master feel because you start off in this tank, you're going through, you're shooting things, all of a sudden, like, now it transitions into a completely different other game. And you're just like, what is happening right now? It caught my attention, and I've been wanting to play it since I've watched those speedruns and correlated to a lot of other games that I enjoy. Like, I love Blaster Master, and I've been wanting to play it ever since. And then I finally got the chance to play it for the podcast, and I enjoyed the game. Is it a game I'm going to brag about with my friends? Like, hey, I have a Game Boy. What game should I buy? Like, am I going to tell them to go out and buy Cosmo Tank? Probably not. But if they happen to have the game or have an EverDrive or come across it for cheap, I'm like, it's worth a playthrough. It's a good game. It's an above average shooter, I would say. It's fun. It gives you a challenge. The toughness ramps up pretty quick, and if you don't know what you're doing, the game does handhold you enough to get you on your feet. So it is an overall good game. So, there's only 2 people that have rated this game, too. We've already talked about one of them. So, Cosmo Tank does have a leaderboard on speedrun.com. I know it has a task as well. I did come across the task, and the task is about 26 minutes long. 24 minutes, 29 seconds long. That's how long the task is. There are two people on the leaderboard for Cosmo Tank. Zandra, who is the current world record right now with a 27-minute, 22-second time. And then second place, Author Blues, who is the original creator of the leaderboard. And probably router of the game with a 30-minute, 1-second time 2 years ago. So I know Author's talked about this game in semi-recent history where I think he said he would want to go back to it to try and take the record. But is busy doing other things, much like all of us. So, but yeah, I'll give Legs the link and whoever else, and then we can post the task video as well too in the description of the episode, so y'all can see how fast the game can actually be completed via a computer. So those are always fun to watch.
Definitely. I might be, I don't know the speedrun of it, but for me, this seems like something very unique you can get into as a speedrun, because it has so much to offer. Oh.
There are no rules to find on a leaderboard. Off and I are going to have a little chat. Yeah, I don't know what's all involved with the speedrun at all either. Like I said, just because I watch a speedrun doesn't mean I'm studying the speedrun. A lot of times that stuff is just on in the background for noise for me. Community events. Welcome to marathon season, everyone. Community events related to Game Boy. When's this episode come out? March.
Let's see. Today it's the 22nd. 29th is the light, so 14th.
March 14th, you say. So March 14th is the day of the Tiny 10 Remix number 3. Oh my god.
Wasn't it the 21st? No, it's the 21st.
It says the 14th on their Twitter.
What? No.
Would I lie to you, Mo?
I am so confused right now because I'm pretty sure we said
I'm pretty 21st. Sure it's the 21st. But it says the 14th on the Twitter.
Oh, yeah, no, I think that was the original date it was gonna be at. The pin tweet, you mean? No, that's wrong.
Way to go, enemy.
Yeah, no, it's if you go down a little bit to see it's March 21st.
Oh yeah, there it is. March 21st. Well, this comes out before the Tiny 10 Remix 3.
Yes.
Oh my god, it was planned. Regardless. So yeah, Tiny 10 Remix 3 was literally just announced today, a couple hours ago, with Mo and Enemy on Retro Gaming Live TV, RGL.
Yeah, if you don't know what a Tiny 10 Remix is, it's just the in-between thing that Enemy started up himself, where games get picked from previous Tiny 10s, maybe with a different goal, because it's always a full game that will be played. So we just did a reveal for that. I'll go over the games real quick. We have Wario Land 2, we got Wave Race, Fish Dude, Pingu, crowd favorite, Bad Gun, Contra the Alien Wars.
Bad Gun.
Yeah, Bad Gun. Solar Striker, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Nubo, the cutest game ever. Make sure to listen to our episode about it. And Castlevania 2, Belmont's Revenge. So
the hardest Castlevania for the Game Boy, but the most fun.
Yeah. The best one.
The best one. The best one of the three.
Yeah.
We don't even count Adventure anymore, so...
No.
That's one of the two. And then we have Retrothon, which is April 19th through the 26th. I believe submissions will be closed by the time this episode is out. A week-long event from our friends at RGL TV, Retro Gaming Life TV. Consoles, it sounds like this time are going to be ranging from some X68000 computer that I've never heard of before in my life, and the Fairchild Channel F, which yours truly submitted, all the way to Xbox, PS2, and GameCube. So there is a wide spectrum of games that are going to be at this marathon. It is a week-long marathon as well, too. I believe it's 24 hours, so 24/7 marathon.
Yeah.
Pressing forward into May, since we might as well right there. Turbo 10, the TurboGrafx 16 Mini is coming out in a few weeks, I believe.
The 19th of March.
There you go, a few weeks. So, RGL is putting on a Turbo 10 where you will be playing 10 TurboGrafx 16 games, similar to the Tiny 10, Big 20, SNES 16, Super 16, there you go. Whatever other ones are out there in the world that I don't remember.
Sweet 16. No, that's something else.
No. Did you say Sweet 16? Nailed it. The Turbo 10 will be happening on May 2nd. And then NLSS Spring, which is an in-person marathon for RGL, a weekend-long event somewhere on the East Coast. I actually don't know where. I don't live on the East Coast. May 16th and May 17th. As long as those dates are correct on Twitter, in a way.
Yeah, you know.
Because I have no idea anymore.
Because I think actually the Turbo 10 is moved as well. So
of course it is.
Yeah.
Of course it is. Then we have Speedy Fists. Speedy Fists has their submissions open until March 22nd. Speedy Fists is a fighting game speedrunning marathon. Very fun group of staff people with this. Good friends with a lot of them. I think last year I did Shaq Fu, or no, 2 years ago I did Shaq Fu for a Shaq Fu block. So we did Super Nintendo, Genesis, and Game Boy Shaq Fu. It was amazing. I think we closed out the marathon too. So a lot of fun, good times. A lot of the people that are staff are from the Midwest, so I live like 20 minutes away from most of these people. They're fantastic individuals. I hang out with them at SGDQ. So give them a check out, Speedy Fists 2020. Haven't heard anything from Power Up with Pride, but they usually do something in the summertime around the May or June time. That'll be a thing. There was a Kirby relay. I don't know when it looks like that's... I don't know if it's a thing or if it's done or what, because no one has posted anything about it ever. I don't know. But apparently there was a Kirby relay for this year that I don't know anything about. It's really all I can think of right now. Oh, Midwest Speed Fest will happen in August. I had that information somewhere and I already lost it. It's in August. You have it. We'll talk about it in the future. Outside of that, I have nothing else. RPG. Also, bigger marathons, RPG Limit Break. I don't think there's any Game Boy games in that, but if you're into RPGs, RPG Limit Break 2020. God, the internet's a fantastic thing. That'll be happening May 10th to May 16th. Just out of curiosity, let's see what games they have. They have Advanced Wars for the GBA, so there's a Game Boy game.
Yeah, that's something.
Dragon Warrior 2 on the Game Boy Color. Final Fantasy Adventure.
There we go.
Final Fantasy Legend 2. Not
bad.
So there's a couple in there. Pokemon Crystal. I guess that's an RPG.
Yeah, technically.
So, a couple Game Boy games, it sounds like. So, good ones. Some Final Fantasy that isn't Final Fantasy. So, get that going for us. Next week, so 2 weeks before this episode comes out, will be SGDQ 2020. Yeah, SGDQ 2020 submissions. So, I'll be submitting Year Walk, which is a PC game. We don't care about PC games on this podcast. Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Shaq Fu, and so there's an if condition here now for the fourth submission. If Mr. Cab can get a 15-minute time in Kirby's Dream Land Extra Mode, I promised him that I would race him at SGDQ. I would submit the game for a race at SGDQ 2020 KDL Extra Mode. It'll be my last submission of Dreamland ever. So,
wow.
So there's that. If he doesn't get the 15, I will be submitting Maru's mission with a bid incentive of US versus Japanese.
Wow.
So I'll be hopefully getting at least one game.
Yeah, that would be great.
And it will be Year Walk. We all know it will
be. Of course.
So that's all the events coming up, at least in the next few months. Again, if anything breaks out, we'll make sure to let you know in the next coming episodes. Listener questions and answers. Do we have anything?
No, we do not. So that's an easy one.
Perfect. Good job.
Again, people just don't know this game, so why would they even ask anything about it?
There's a lot of questions. You always question the unknown. God. Yeah, so perfect. I'm really glad when people don't talk to us. So, thoughts, suggestions by the audience, like we always say, if you always have feedback for us, always open ears, always wanting to better the podcast episodes for each of you. I personally feel that our podcast episodes do get better each episode, one way or another, whether we're having fun, laughing, whether we've gotten more detail than normal for a game. One way or another, each episode does progressively get better, in my opinion, because I do listen to the end product, oddly enough.
Yeah, me too. And that's why I also caught that my audio was completely off in the last episode that we released, which was Swamp Thing, and I was like, what in the world happened there? And, well, the same thing as what happened with Baltic at the start or something, like the microphone switched from my actual microphone to my camera microphone. Yep. Yeah, well, that was fun. So the next light... Oh, no, that would all be... So the light that you also heard before this is also gonna be not so great audio quality-wise, but it was a technical issue that I had no idea that was happening.
I didn't listen to the episode till after you said something. Then I listened to it, and I was like, there's definitely a difference, but you're still... I can still understand you. So
yeah. It's not that bad, but you definitely hear the difference immediately. Oh, yeah. Luckily, my camera microphone isn't that crappy, I guess. But you can definitely hear that it's not the same as that I'm recording with my Blue Yeti here.
Blue Yeti, a microphone for champions. That's what I use.
Of course.
Except mine's all black, so it's a black Yeti.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, if y'all with my from the south, if you all ever have anything, feedback, pat on the back, good jobs, 5-star ratings on Apple iPod or Apple iTunes podcasts stuff, please let us know. Please give us reviews. Please help us better the podcast any way that we can. With that, you can find me, Belthic Gaming, on Twitch and Twitter at Belthic Gaming. YouTube, I just need subscribers to get a fancy URL, but we're getting there. And Instagram, Beltha Gaming. You can see some random stuff that I post there, usually emo drawings, but where can they find you, Mo?
They can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, all /Moelle, which is spelled Moelleuh.
Nice. And you can find our fantastic producer, Legs, SprintingLegs on Twitch, Legs in Discord, Legs on YouTube, and is it SprintingLegs.com for all of her projects as well, too. So, and you can also find, almost forgot, we have a Patreon. I almost forgot we have a Patreon. If you want to subscribe to the content, if you want to say hey, you guys are doing a great job, and throw a few dollars at us every month, super appreciated. All the money that we get from that goes to paying for subscriptions and services, paying Legs, and then once we reach 20 a month, Mo and I will actually start live streaming our podcast episodes. So you can see our pretty faces whenever we go to break and make fun of each other and say really dumb things.
Yeah, and if you don't want that, you can also, of course, just put a message in the Patreon, please don't do that. That's also fine, as long as
I'm okay with not taking a shower in the morning. Let me tell you what. Also, we have a PayPal, right? We have PayPal now, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, okay. So if you're not into the whole sub thing and you only just want to do a one-time thingy, again, all these are optional. We're just saying that it's a thing that you can do. Appreciated, super appreciated. Please let one of us know, either Mo, Legs, or myself. And I have a special role for PayPal since we can't type PayPal into Discord yet. So please let us know. We want to thank you in any way possible that we can. So, and then you can find all of this information. Now we can get to that part. You can find all of this information on gbrunners.com/TIGB. And you'll see a little bio, a little blip, some links that you can click on for each three of us. The most recent episode on SoundCloud. That's right, we got fancy on that page. And all of the side stuff, the RSS feeds, the SoundCloud, and Twitch, and everything else, Discord. Please join Discord.
And I finally updated the logo as well.
See there? We're always doing something for the podcast, bettering it one way or another.
Yeah. I reminded myself last episode that I had to do that, so I finally did it now.
Man, I'm really sarcastic this episode.
Yeah.
It's one of those days, apparently. Oh, man.
Well, that about wraps everything up. Hope you enjoyed this little run-through of Cosmo Tank. Be sure to check the game out yourself so you maybe have a better idea of what we were talking about. But with that, we will be signing off for now. And for the next episode, we will actually be talking about Bonk's Adventure and Bonk's Revenge. So you could say the Bonk series. There is a third episode. There is a third Bonk game, but it's Japanese only, and we have no idea how to actually play that. But like I said last time, for that episode, we will get some help from somebody who actually knows a lot more about Bonk than we do, and that is Let Mackie. So you will not only be hearing me and Baltic, but him as well.
Cool. Well, thank you all for listening. Have a great next 2 weeks until you hear back from one of us again. Ta-ta.
Yeah, bye.
Yeah, we're getting there, legs. God.